Chapter 10, Part 2. There she is, said Mr. Trapwood, looking out the window at the pension marina at the slender blue funnel of the HMS Bishop, the sister ship of the Cardinal, which had just come into port. She would spend 4 days on the turnabout while the crew cleaned the ship, took on supplies and had some time ashore. Then, on Saturday morning, she would set off again to the mouth of the Amazon, across the Atlantic and back to Britain. The Crows had been so sure of finding Taverner's son that they booked a 3-berth cabin for the return journey. They were beginning to give up hope, for it was clear that the wretched boy was deliberately hiding from them. At first, people had tried to deny that Taverner had a son at all. Now, though, they were beginning to laugh behind their sleeves as the day for the detective's departure grew closer. There were sly digs about the boy having outwitted them. But why? The Crows were hurt. They had come as bearers of good tidings to bring a savage jungle boy to the news of his inheritance. They had been prepared to introduce him gradually to polite society, perhaps on the journey to teach him to use a knife and fork. Sir Aubrey had even given them money to buy him clothes in case he'd been brought up in a grass skirt. And they had expected gratitude. It was only natural. "Thank you, Mr. Lowe," the boy would have said, grasping him by the hand, "and thank you, Mr. Trapwood, you have saved me from a life of toil and darkness." Instead, there was a boy that was deliberately hiding, and everyone in Manhouse seemed to be helping him. "We've got 3 more days," said Mr. Trapwood. "There's still a chance to flush him out." "To carry him aboard by force if necessary," said Mr. Lowe. "To get that bonus from Sir Aubrey," replied Trapwood. That was the most important thing of all. Sir Aubrey had promised them £100 each if they brought his grandson home safely. "I still think there's something fishy about that Pigdale girl at the Carter's place," said Trapwood. Mr. Lowe agreed. "She had a shifty look. We'll have to keep an eye on her." The Crows were looking much more worse for wear. Their black suits were dusty and torn. The maid at the pension Maria had burnt every one of their shirts as she ironed them. Mr. Trapwood's face was covered in lumps where the bites of the tabernacle fire had gone septic, and both their stomachs had become boiling caverns of agony and wind. "But we can still do it," said Mr. Trapwood, punching the table. "We'll try downriver this time. Those houses by the fishing place, the people there look poor enough. They should take some notice of the reward." Mr. Lowe nodded and made his way stealthily towards the door. "If you think you're getting to the Louty before me, don't try," said Mr. Trapwood. "I'm going first." "No, you aren't. I need it." "You need it." Shoving and jostling, the 2 detectives raced each other down the corridor. Professor Glastonbury, making his way up the hill to the cafe where he usually had lunch, stopped, as he always did, by the bookshop in the square. It was run by a man who brought books in from all over Brazil, specialising in books about natural history. In the window was a copy of Travels in the Amazon by Alfred Russel Wallace, open at a beautiful woodcut of an Indian village. He was admiring it when he realised that the tall, straight-backed woman, who was also staring into the window, was the lady who had left Mayer in the museum. "A beautiful book," he said, raising his hat. She sighed. "Yes, quite above my means, I fear." "It's not a first edition," he said. "You might get it quite reasonably. I know the owner. Perhaps he'll put it aside for a while." "Thank you," replied Miss Minton, "but he would have to put it aside for most of my life. My salary is not princely, even when it's paid." Both of them looked for a while longer at the book. Then Miss Minton gave her tight-lipped smile. "I was dismissed once for reading," she said. "Really?" The professor waited, but she said no more. "I left Mayer working hard," he went on. "The caretaker promised to keep an eye on her." Did she know what Mayer was really doing in the museum, he wondered? Probably not. Yet she didn't look like a person easy to hoodwink. As she bent down to pick up her basket with Mrs. Carter's shopping in, he said, "Allow me." She shook her head. "Thank you, but it's not heavy." They began to walk towards Main Street with its cafes and shops. "I've been thinking what you said about the missing bone of Megatherium, the sloth I mean." "You've decided to go look for it," said Miss Minton. No. But Taverner was also against putting in a false rib. He was a good naturalist and a good man. "I miss him," said Glastonbury. "Yes, I can imagine that," replied Miss Minton. "Was it he who found the skeleton?" "No," replied Glastonbury. "It was found many years ago. It went to a museum in Rio, too important for my little place, but no one had time to assemble it, so they sent it down to me. But Taverner knew the place it came from. Not only that," he broke off. "His wife came from up there," he went on. "It's practically an unexplored country." "Did you know his wife?" asked Miss Minton. "Yes. She was beautiful and gentle. She died in childbirth because the English doctor wouldn't come out to an Indian girl at night. As you can imagine, it didn't make Taverner any more anxious to return to England. They walked on for a while without speaking. Then the professor, blushing a little, for he was very shy, asked Miss Minton if she would care to join him for lunch. It's only a little local cafe, but the food is great. But as he'd expected, she refused. Thank you, I have some sandwiches. At the door of the cafe, Miss Minton was overcome suddenly by the glorious smell of real, strong Brazilian coffee. Perhaps a cup of coffee, she said. It was a nice cafe, friendly and cheap, and it cost Miss Minton some effort not to allow the professor to buy her a dish of chicken and rice. I lunch here most days, he said, since my wife died. Was that a long time ago? Asked Miss Minton. Yes, 10 years ago now. I blame myself. The climate didn't suit her. I should have taken her back to England, he said. Miss Minton frowned. She did not approve of people blaming themselves for what was done. Are the caves difficult to reach? The ones where your sloth came from? She asked. Yes, replied Glastonbury. Difficult, but not impossible. Did Taverner think there were more remains there? More bones? Asked Miss Minton. He thought there might be, but that's neither here nor there. I shall be 58 next year, an old man. Now that's the kind of remark I don't enjoy, said Miss Minton cuttingly, and picked up her coffee cup. When she came back from the museum, Maya found the twins in an even worse mood than usual. What are those supposed to be? Sneered Beatrice, turning over Maya's drawing. I can't make head nor tail of them. I know, Maya sighed, but birds are really difficult to draw. Well, why do you have to go and show off in the museum then? I suppose you want everyone to say how clever you are, said Beatrice. And you've got a mosquito bite on your forehead, said Gwendolen. It looks like the kind that goes septic. You've probably caught lice too on the Indian boat. You better not come near. Maya said nothing and went to her room. She had stopped wondering what she had done to annoy them. But to tell the truth, the poor twins had just learnt something which upset them very much, and they had learnt it from their mother. We don't like Maya, Mummy, the twins had said. She's a prig. The way she goes on practising piano when she doesn't have to. And she flirts with the boys at the dancing class and shows off the whole time. And she's conceited about her hair, the way she brushes it and brushes it. And she sneaks off to talk to the servants. Mrs. Carter sighed. I know you don't like her, she said. We hate her, said Beatrice. When's she going away again? Wailed Gwendolen. Oh, don't, cried Mrs. Carter, caught off guard. Don't ever mention her going away. If Maya goes, we are undone. The twins stared at her, their small, round mouths hung open. Mrs. Carter tried to pull herself together. No, it's not as bad as that, but your father. There have been difficulties with the price of rubber, and so on, and Maya's allowance from her guardian is absolutely necessary to pay the bills. You mean she's staying forever and ever, said Beatrice, just because she's rich and we're poor? It isn't fair, said Gwendolen. Now please, girl. I'm sure your father will find a way around it, and when he does, we can send her away. But for now, please try to be nice to Maya. The twins shot her furious looks from under their pale eyelashes. We'll have to think of something, said Beatrice, when they're alone again. We certainly will, said Gwendolen. But if we get rid of her, we won't be able to have any new clothes. Unless we can get hold of the reward for the Taverner boy. If we get that, we won't need to see Maya ever again, said Beatrice gloatingly. I think she knows something. I'm going to watch her day and night. I'm going to watch her too.